Welcome everyone. We're more than halfway through the AET trainings that we're providing for teachers. We've already covered all of the content that is the kind of required pieces for things that we're changing this year. Remember, it's really only one or two things that are different. We're doing FFA membership through this system, and we're not using FFA.org anymore for that. This should make that quite a bit simpler. Students will provide the info that you need, or you'll upload that through your roster. You'll push one button and you'll be finished. And we're using this to collect the MDE data that you would submit every single year about the size and scope of your program. We can pull all that data without you having to do anything. So by doing this, you no longer have to do a survey and rosters get easy. But because there's all these other tools in AET that are useful, we're continuing to do workshops on these that can be accessed kind of at your own pace, and we'll keep doing them over the next few years. We're going to move into, now that we've covered kind of getting started, the next few ones are if you'd like to be using AET as a work-based learning tool, which was really what it was designed for. Now it can do managing your FFA chapter, classroom assessment, data, all these other things, but really it started out as an online record book. So if you're thinking you might use this for supervising work-based learning, which is great because it's set up to do everything from the beginning all the way to exporting a portfolio and creating an award application. So we're going to kind of look at what would it look like to get started on day one with students with work-based learning and SAE using AET. So I'll remember all these resources are on our website under the resources tab, teacher, and then AET. So what I end up doing is finding my way over to AET's website, and this is linked on ours too here under help sheet. We always put the exact specific help sheet you might need for this lesson, but if you go under student help, I'm pretty sure for this one, and then SAE, it actually has a lot of really useful stuff, and this would work really, really well in a COVID distance learning space to kind of have them navigate through it. So there's resources here and websites that walk them through different types of SAE work-based learning projects, and they can explore SAE as they go. And so if we click on this, it takes us into a video describing what is a paid placement type of experience, what might that entail. They actually have a lot of really good stuff on the Explore SAE website. So I would usually start students here at this version of it and walk them through kind of figuring out their videos. So when it first goes through it, you have them enter their AET user information and it'll log them in. But it essentially starts them here with this diagram of when you're going to do this learning experience in the classroom, do you want to get paid for it or not? Because some students don't, they just want to learn or have fun, or they're not really sure what they want to do yet, and that's okay. So if I said, no, I don't really want to get paid, I'm not sure, I'm kind of learning, then it says, do you want to do an experiment or not? And if they want to do an experiment, it guides them to research. If they're not really interested in experiment, it guides them to a foundational experience, which would be career exploration, not really work-based learning, or an unpaid placement, kind of an internship opportunity. And so there's kind of a real gray line between those. At what point does it leave career exploration and become internship, unpaid placement? But if they did say they wanted to make money, then it asks them the question of, do you want risk or not? And so like in my company that I owned as a high school student, I had employees, we had computers we bought, we were taking on bids for projects. There was a lot of risk in it and we could lose money. That's entrepreneurship. And if you don't want risk, if you're not in a position to do that, then you would say no. So it kind of guides them through each of the different types of SAEs. And then the website has a ton of resources on it for different types of SAE projects. So like when I was a teacher, it was always really tough to help students figure out what type of a project do they want to come. So here's again that diagram. Is it, you know, how much time are you putting into it? How much money are you making? And then they map out what kind of interest they might be. So rather than figuring out what's in our town and what can you do, if I know I really like plants, they can click the plant systems list and it gives them a bunch of options for all the different SAEs that they could work on. And then there's even videos here when you get into it about what students might want to do within a plant systems, within environmental systems, with the animal, to help them kind of figure out what is their project. So this career exploration piece at the beginning of it becomes a lot easier, especially if you're doing it as a class, because you could spend a day in a lab or a week of distance learning, having them kind of figure out what might I want to do for my project and how do I want to get started. So Explorer SAE is adjacent to AET. It uses their AET logins, but it's a really, really fantastic resource. And there's a lot of videos and things on it. So they kind of get started here and then they move into a training agreement. And so when they click on that, there's a video on how to figure it out and then different worksheets to guide them through it. That's really what we're going to focus on. So first you figure out what type of a project do you want. I usually have my students do this by paper first because it's a little less confusing, but it's however you'd like to do it. But I have them kind of brainstorm, what are some things I might want to do? I like plants, I like business, I like the environment, don't like animals, don't want to do something there. And then they use these videos to help narrow down what they might want to do. When they have figured it out, then we answer these questions about what are we going to call the project. For example, when I was in high school, I worked at a Christmas tree farm. All the wrestlers on our team would work there every summer and we would trim and shear trees and help shape them. And so that was Steve's Christmas tree farm. That was a summer job I did every year. So I would write down what it's called. This is an individual project. I'm not doing it at the school. It would have been a placement project because I was earning money for it. And then it would have fit under natural resources here because it wouldn't be environmental services. And then I start on my plan. So let's walk through that here. And so this guide and worksheet is really helpful. It's on AET, and there's all these other resources for students too, and all these videos. So real fantastic stuff. But if we get into AET, I'm logged in here under the Minnesota FFA chapter and my own personal account, so you can kind of see it. But this is what it would look like kind of as a student when I click between my tabs. So I'm gonna click on Project Manager and it pulls up all of my SAE types. So I've already got this Steve's Christmas tree farm one in here, but let's make a new one just so we can kind of all see and follow along these steps. So if we've already filled out this worksheet, it asks us to click Profile, Experience Manager, and then Add New. Sorry. So I will add a new project. All right, so when I was in my junior year of high school, I started my own company called Sheehan Communications, and we did graphic design, web development, kind of communications and marketing with companies. So I'll put this into AET here. So that would not be a school-based project. School-based projects are like if you have a greenhouse and students work in the greenhouse, whether it's paid or unpaid, that's a school-based enterprise. Not for a class would be different. I had lab managers that would work in the greenhouse. They got scholarships or stipends at the end of their year. That's really what school-based enterprise is. So aquaculture, greenhouse, a school farm or barn, a forestry plot, that's all a school-based enterprise. In business and marketing, DECA, this looks like a school store. In FCS, this could be a childcare daycare center, a culinary center. It can vary. And then service learning is this new thing that's somewhat controversial. Lots of people say this isn't really work-based learning, but AET has put it in there because of National FFA. So we're probably looking at only these two. Is it individual SAE or is it located at the school? And then I said I own this company, so it would be entrepreneurship. And there's examples here that walk through kind of what they're like. If I'm not sure what this is, it says under entrepreneurship, I'm going to have both journals and I'm going to have financial statements because there's risk involved and I need to document my finances. So this company here was a business. And so while there is the education and communications clusters, these are more exploratory. So I would have said I owned my own company. I was focusing on marketing plans and supply and demand of the community and how can I promote myself, kind of a thing. So I would say this is our business and it would have been a communications project. And I'll hit save. So I followed those steps. I put in my name, my project type, and then it says you're going to hit edit on the SAE plan. And that's kind of the big thing that we'll talk about and spend a little bit of time on today. So here's my projects. So we can have more than one, and students can do one a year. They can do 300. It's up to you and how you want to manage it. This project is off right now. Like maybe I only worked there my freshman and sophomore year and then I quit. And so I closed it, it's done. If I want to turn it back on, I can turn it on. This is how you can kind of see which students are active in certain projects at a time. And different tabs pop up based on what it is. Like I wouldn't have inventory in a placement project. I'm not going to have capital items and depreciable items and consumable, and all of that disappears here. Financials I would still have though, and skills and competencies. And so it depends on which type of an activity it is. So it's saying here I did my SAE plan. Sorry, we'll back up. It's helpful how it organizes it too, because phase 1 here, everything under 1 is planning. Everything under 2 is the records of where they'll actually manage the project. And then 3 is what they'll do to close out. Like if they're generating a state degree, the project's over. So in my planning phase here, we can see I have a project plan and I've done everything I need to do for this Christmas tree farm, but I haven't yet done it for the new one I just put in. So usually on the first week or so, I have all the students, if I'm grading this, it's an assignment in the class, I have all the students figure out what kind of a project they want to do for their grade. Remember, it doesn't have to be entrepreneurship. It can be just like not every student in FFA is going to be a CDE winner or a state officer. Not every student with an SAE is going to be a proficiency winner. Foundational experiences are just fine. They can job shadow and see what they get out of it. And our goal is to move them forward. But we don't start off an FFA student by saying you're going to win state finals in dairy foods. We say come to an FFA meeting. So let's start them with a smaller project. Yeah, sorry for the little rant, but it's okay to have everyone do an SAE project and they be small at first. But I would have them pick what project they want to do, and then we start planning what we're going to do in the class by clicking on the little pencil. So they have to do all 4 of these tabs, and it guides them through the questions. So here's a summary of important information you would want to answer for your question. So I just had my students copy it, and so my project is going to start on September 1st. No, that's already happened. So we'll do September 15th, 2020, and it will end when I graduate from high school. And then have them write some goals that they want. Like, quite honestly, I wanted to earn money. That was why I did the whole thing. I wanted to earn money and pay for college. So I would say like Mr. Meyer is assisting with my project. Miss Bonnefeld, she was our business and marketing teacher at the school. And so she provided me some input on marketing plans and, my business plan, etc. I got a loan from a family friend for $1,000 kind of a thing. So they just, in detail, they tell you about what are they thinking about doing. And then this is big, work-based learning SAE, we always have to think about safety. There wasn't a whole lot of risk in the project I was doing, but there can be a lot of risk in some of our production related projects. So for safety, I'm gonna use personal protective gear, whatever. I didn't really have to worry about that here. So I don't know, I had a firewall on my computer, that doesn't really matter. It's nice because it saves it as you go. So I'll do time then. And so it says for time, pick one of the statements below that matches to describe it. So I might choose this one. So like meeting with clients, working on projects, I don't know. But ultimately you want to get them, Sam, probably spending about 10 hours a week or whatever they might say, or a website could take 20 to 100 hours, graphic project, I don't know. They describe what they're working on. And because I have risk here, I would also need to address my financial pieces. The funds I need to invest in my project are coming from this person. My main expenses are technology, payroll, taxes. My income is going to come from services. And so I would probably describe like my marketing plan of what I was going to charge customers and clients for being in it. This is a little more detailed in an entrepreneurship project. On a placement project, the questions here shift, and it says, how much money are you making per hour? How many hours a week are you going to work? If that makes sense. So they would write up all their information here. And then finally, they look at their goals that they want to accomplish from this area. And so they'll hit, it says that it wants 3 in the area at least. And so for me, it was agribusiness. And so I want to be able to write my goals for my business. That was a goal of mine. I had some sales and marketing strategies. I wanted to mitigate my risk. I didn't want to lose money. It's probably enough for now. And then you write about how you're going to accomplish that in each one. So marketing principles, an assessment of the community and businesses with marketing and communications needs. So this is nice because this translates directly to state degree and award applications. Like later when they go to fill this out, all these skills align perfectly to those award apps. So it's really nice because then they don't need to write anything new. So let's say I did a good job, it's done. Then the last thing you do when everything is finished is have them generate the agreement. So when we do work-based learning, we learn this in our teacher prep programs, and when we got certified in work-based learning, you need to have some kind of a training agreement for every single project, whether it's job shadowing or entrepreneurship. And so this makes it really nice because it walks them through the steps of it and then generates the entire agreement for the students. So I would have my students print this. It gives all the information that they typed in. It talks about, how much they're going to work, how much time they're going to spend, how much money they plan to make, what are their learning objectives. They sign it, their parents sign it, and then they turn it into you and you sign it. And then their training agreement is documented and you're good to go. You're ready to supervise work-based learning. So this takes all that work out of it and makes it so much faster because it can generate the entire thing for them. It guides them through the questions in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming. It makes sure that safety is a critical piece that's talked about a lot right now in work-based learning. It's addressing safety here for you. You can even require students to take a safety assessment if you'd like. So generating that agreement, getting them started makes this super simple. And then it also helps to talk about your income and opening expenses so that you can get kind of going on the project in order to start doing your record keeping. So for getting students started in work-based learning, this was the value I saw in AET and the reason I adopted it. I didn't even know the program calendar thing existed. That was a fun, happy surprise later. But if you're supervising SAE, if you're grading it, if you're a work-based learning coordinator, this program is the thing that work-based learning groups are spending thousands of dollars. One consortium submitted a request, and I'm not kidding, it was $250 per student for a program similar to this. And I'm we use AET and it's $2 a student and does a lot more. So we hope that you find value in this. You could also, I'm logged in as a teacher right now too, so I could also print all of the training agreements for students and view all the assessments. But there's some pretty good stuff here. So this first week, we just wanted to touch on how to get students started. I would use the resources on AET's website. So under student help, SAE best practices, and it guides them through picking what they want to do. The Explore SAE tool is so good. I remember we used to do SAE cards where we would do skits and job shadows. There's videos in here, there's ideas for what they could do. And it kind of guides them towards it. Do you want risk? Do you want to spend time? Do you want to make money? what types of SAEs would you be interested in doing, and then it has them start picking the ideas. So this is how I would recommend you all use the tool, but really it's what works for you. So just know there's a ton of stuff here. Explore SAE is great. There's tutorials and videos on their website. And then when it comes to actually making the training plan, it guides them through it so that you have a legitimate legal document that's signed by the parent that holds up and supports you in the work that you're doing. So I think that's everything we were pretty much planning on doing. We just wanted to do getting started with students on SAE. I would use Explore SAE, and then we create these training agreements. Usually this probably took a couple days in class. This would work really, really well in distance learning to spend a week or so on it and have them slowly get started. Next week when we come in, we're going to talk about how to do the journals and how to do records in different spaces of AET, because it can do records for SAE, but it can also do records for FFA events and reflections on that, and logging your hours for lettering and award winners. And it can do records for classrooms. So say Joe and I taught at the same school, and we both teach case animal science, and we did the test, and his students did really well and mine did badly. We can use AET to figure out what are the concepts that his students understood and mine didn't. Like, what did I teach differently about it? AET can help with that. So it's a really good PLC classroom instructional tool as well. That's how to get started with students on the first day. Are there any questions from people on the call? Okay. Remember, all of this is optional. This is probably the part of AET we were all using the most, but it works fantastic for all of our students. It's not meant for proficiency winners. It's meant for really doing SAE for all of our students in our classes. It's a great assignment. This other stuff is the required pieces, the profile and the membership, but these are free extra tools that you can use. And we hope that you find value in them and adopt them at a rate that makes sense for you. But none of this is required. So if you have questions, let Radha or I know. We're happy to help. Next week, we're going to dive into records. Evan, anything else you have?
Nope, and it's actually 2 weeks because next week we're taking a break. So we will see you in 2 weeks.
We hope the start of your school year goes well. We know these are unusual conditions, but we think that, I mean, this sounds like a great lesson plan. And quite honestly, there's under curriculum, right? Is that where it is? AT in the classroom?
Yep.
It has the lesson plans. Like when I say I taught this in my class, I'm lazy. I didn't make my own lesson plan here. Getting started, so using Explore SAE, like this is a straight lesson plan from them on their website. I didn't write this. And so they walk you through how to have them get started with it, and then how to do an SAE project plan. So this might be a 2 or 3 day lesson that you could do virtually really well. So I would just check that out of their pre-set up curriculum. That's all I got.
All right, thanks everyone for joining us.